I find that if a picture is totally obvious, you look at it quickly and it's gone. You go on to something else. It's when there's some unclarity that really it pulls you in, and as a viewer it gets you to keep looking for different parts. Most of this I blame on my mother. She was an artist, she was a sculptress. And all while I was a kid, her sculptures were all around. I actually had no knowledge that she had made these. They were around. They were hers, I mean her property, in the same sense that the rug was and the couch. And it wasn't until I was 20s, 30s, that I knew that she had actually sculpted these. In the spirit of rebelling, perhaps, I went in a totally different direction with my life, and I became an engineer, which has a little to do with aesthetics, but it's certainly not straight art. And I can assure you that her artist friends thought this was one step worse than being a janitor. I did some photography when I was a kid, and then I stopped, and I stopped for decades. I would say I really took up photography in 2002 when I was 50. For me, that was the real start of it. At first, I was taking photos of my wife Marion's pieces, and so I had to get a camera for this. I had a camera. We got married. We went on a honeymoon to Venice. I took the camera. We were there for a month. I had to take pictures of stuff. And so I did. And so this was the beginning, really. That was 7 years ago now. One of the magical things that happened for me is on Swan's Island. I was up there visiting friends, and I was with a bunch of painters. And it was a day that the fog started coming and going. And I wandered around the backside of the island, just looking. I had no idea what I would find. And the fog would come and go. And as it changed, I ended up with a lot of different, really different photos of the same thing. I just set up in front of a bunch of little islands out in the harbor. And as it rolled and came and went, really, I never thought I would have so much variety from really the same spot. And I started talking about these, really. I started looking for mists and fogs, and for a mixture of the stuff that you don't quite see and the stuff that you can see. And I found this a very interesting challenge to have. How little can you have in a picture and still have it be interesting and compelling? I think what comes through from my personality into my photography is really my appreciation of ambivalence. That I really like, I guess I've changed since I was a teenager when I liked things really black and white. And for whatever reason, I've really come to an appreciation of the grays of situations where you can't really tell what's going on. That they hold much more, the mystery holds more interest for me. I think what's brought me along since 2002, a lot of it was just magic. Really, I don't think I'd be able to say if there was a single thing. I think persistence is a big part of it. I picked this up and I decided to see if I could make something of it. I come home and I look at these pictures, and some that I thought, turn out great. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes the stuff that I thought would be great. Why did I even take this picture? What I'd tell a young artist, a starting person really, is that different people learn in very different ways. That the best thing is to start with whatever interests you, because that will draw you in and that will motivate your finding these other parts. Really, so I think the biggest element is persistence. I think that's the trick to a lot in life.
Being creative was me. I mean, I don't think I could have lived my life without being creative, no matter what form it took. All the acts of creativity are all one. Whether you're acting, whether you're writing, whether you're painting, it all comes from within you, and that's how my work is, from within myself. I guess it started when I was 16. I used to paint in my bedroom, and I painted very abstractly, and I was not taking any painting lessons at that particular time. But it was just another way of expressing myself, and I guess I can say that it's the oil paints that really get to me. I mean, I love the smell of oil paints. It's almost like smelling grass just being cut. And the painting was just, again, a process, an evolution of the way I started with my creativity. So this is the relationship between me and the whole painting thing. It's the oil paints that are so enveloping for me. Initially, I was attracted to color. I was a color person. And over time, again, I evolved and wanted to become more simplified. And for me, the simplification was in the black and white. And in some ways, you might say the attraction of the simplicity and the darkness of what has been occurring within my life or my family's life, and may be coming through the paintings at this particular time. It's the things I see, how people are being treated, homelessness, accidents, cruelty, animals, you name it, it affects me. It's like, it's so internal, sometimes it's so painful. You know, I can't deal with it. My way of dealing with the pain is through the creativity of whether it's painting or writing or singing or listening to music or allowing myself to feel these things. I think that's the most important thing of all. When I first enter my studio and it's a new canvas, the process is always the same. It's, I put the first coat of acrylic. I use acrylic as my first coat of paint, and only because that's how I was taught at school, and because it sort of takes away that whiteness so that you're not starting, at least in my mind too, you're not starting on a blank canvas. You have something to grab onto. I mean, I leave my studio saying, well, when I come back, I know I have to do this, I have to sand that, or I'm not happy with that. There's always a sense of not being totally fulfilled. There's never any consistent satisfaction within the work that you feel so great, it's like you're in love for the first time. And so those are rare moments for me. And so I search for it all the time, and I don't expect to come in every day or every other day being in love with everything that I'm doing. I mean, that would be, in my mind, rather unrealistic. However, when you're painting something that's totally from within yourself and from the world around you, It's very hard to put a label on it. It takes time. It goes from one painting to the next painting. It's a constant search, and it's never ending. I don't know, I really don't know whether or not I'll ever reach the point where I can say, oh, I'm at the apex of my paintings. I don't think that will ever happen. I think I will always continue to struggle.
So I've always thought of myself as a little ADD and not very patient at all. And it may be that painting is the thing that allows me to draw on those qualities to be able to complete an image. But I wouldn't say that I am by nature patient or focused, just that painting allows me to be patient and focused. I grew up in a little town called Hoisington, Kansas, where there wasn't much opportunity to study art. So as a child, my mother, who thought I showed early promise, would take me to nearby communities to take classes. I was very excited about taking the art classes, and really it was a constant through my early childhood development and my high school years. Well, I would say that the early training I had in Hoisington carried through mostly in terms of a desire to paint one day full-time. And that I've only recently been able to realize as the culmination of a dream. Well, I grew up for the last 15 years as an urban and transportation planner. So I think that when you see the construction cranes and the landscapes in my paintings, you're seeing a lot of my experiences as an urban planner coming through. One of the things I'm interested in conveying through my paintings, particularly the work I call stillscapes, which are landscapes through glassware, so that you see the changes in the landscape visually. That metamorphosis, that change, is something that I really want to try to convey through my art. My background as a planner makes me very interested in how the landscape changes, both visually and in real terms. So one of the images that I put in my paintings, and I think about a lot, are construction cranes. Because I would like people who view the paintings not only to think about how the landscape changes visually through the painting, looking through the glasses, but also how the landscape changes because of what we as individuals, what we create on the landscape. When I started painting, I have planned the entire image. So the first thing, if I can talk a little bit about the process of how I paint, I, up until recently, thought about painting primarily on vacations. So my process for beginning a painting is to take a lot of photographs of a scene that I have constructed in real life. Much of the work that I do with reflections through glasses in the stillscape scenes I paint are made with glasses that I carry with me. So it is very intentful what I paint. Painting for me, the thing that's always drawn me to painting is when I'm painting, I have this heightened visual awareness. I'm much more aware of the visual landscape around me, whether it's the glint off a stone in a ring, or the reflection through a glass, or looking ahead on the road at the shadow that's cast by a car. When I'm not painting, I don't see any of that. So it's very important to me to experience the world sensually to keep painting. I see myself as a color realist. Color realism to me means that you can recognize what the image is. You can recognize that it's refracted images in a glass, for example. And the color, I use a very high-key palette. And I think the color that I use speak to people. It makes them happy, and I want to convey that. I want to convey the feeling of being happy and being relaxed and being with someone that you care about or with things that you care about. The most important thing to me right now as an artist is to grow both in terms of the images and ideas I present through my painting, and also it's important to me to grow technically in my ability to convey those images. When I paint the detail in a wine glass, I am, and what I see reflected through it, I'm trying to get people to pay attention to both on a visual level and on an intellectual level with the details of their lives. I think it is true that we live our life a day at a time, an hour at a time, and at the end, that's all we have is the accumulation of those days. And the way we affect our landscape, we affect it a piece of litter at a time, a strip mall at a time, a housing development at a time. And at the end, the accumulation of what we've created in the world is the accumulation of all those individual actions. So our future is not what we plan for. Our future is what we actually do every day in insignificant ways